Senhoras e senhores, muito boa noite.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 25th International Seminar of Coffee in Santos, promoted by the Commercial Association of Santos, the largest and most traditional business point for the coffee industry. We start today a historic session. It's because it's not all events that comes to the 25th edition. 54 years of realization, many stories, many businesses that were built, consolidating this place as the most important forums for discussion about coffee in the world. In order for our opening ceremony, I would like to call Marco Samarco, the president of the Commercial Association of Santos. I would also like to call Ms. Aldrich Lee, Vice Mayor of Santos. Mr. Justo, Vice President of the Commercial Association of Santos. I would like to call Mr. Carlos Santana, Vice President of the Commercial Association of Santos. Mr. Anderson Comini, the President of the CODESP in Santos. President of Port Authority. Mr. Pedro Henrique Souza Neto, Agribusiness Manager of Brazilian Agency of Promotion of Export and Investment, Apex Brazil. And also Mrs. Cristina Castro, President of the ANTAC. History, tradition, and relevance of this meeting for the coffee industry emphasize the role of this international event at a strategic place for talking, relationship, and generation of new opportunities. We're going to live for the coming days with lots of networking, exchanging experiences, debates, and connections that will emphasize the main role that Brazil plays, and especially Santos, in the production, commercialization, logistics, and innovation of coffee. I would like to call you all to please stand so that we can sing the Brazilian anthem.
Sol do novo nossa vida no teu seio mais amores. Ó pátria amada, salve, salve. Brasil de amor eterno seja símbolo. O lábaro que ostentas estrelado. Dedica o verde louro desta flâmula. Paz no futuro e glória no passado. Mas serves da justiça clava forte. Verás que o filho teu não foge à luta. Nem teme quem te adora a própria morte. Terra adorada, entre outras mil és tu, Brasil, ó pátria amada. Os filhos desse sol resplandente, pátria amada, Brasil.
Agradecemos também
We would like to thank the president of the local authorities that came to our ceremony, Mr. Fábio Ferraz, the city secretary of the government of Santos, Mr. Bruno Orlandi, the municipality secretary of Jobs Department Santos, Tiago Papo, from the Commerce and Entrepreneurship in Santos, Mr. Kleber Ferrão, the dean of the Catholic University of Santos, Ms. Silvia Teixeira, Director of Unisanta, Professor Dr. Mariângela Mendes Pinho, Director of the Society Visconde de São Leopoldo, Marco, Director President of IBI, Brazil Institute of Infrastructure, Jupiter Furking, Vice President of the Federation of Commercial Associations in the State of São Paulo, FACESP, Mr. Luiz Roberto Gonçalves, Vice President of the Commercial Association of São Paulo, here representing President Alfredo Kutaiti Neto, Rosineide Facina, President of Simpsons, Union for Commerce and Transportation of Cargo in São Paulo, Mr. Carlos Melo, for the Union of the Brokers in Santos, Carlos Augusto Melo, from Cochupé, Ricardo Schneider, from the Commerce Center in Coffee, Minas Gerais, and Mr. Michael Team, Director of ING Stocker. We would also like to thank our sponsors that made this event possible. Brazilian Agency of Promotion of Export and Investment, Apex Brazil, Brasil Terminal Portuário, MSC, StoneX, Port Authority in Santos, a public company connected to the airports and ports in Brazil, Contegran, New Coffee, LDC, OFAI, Sucafina, Cochupé. Special thanks to the Via Green Institute, responsible for the measurement of the carbon impact in our event, contributing. Said one more time, this international seminar, Coffee in Santos, emphasizes the commitment with sustainable practices. In order to give welcome to our event, I would like to call Mr. Mauro Samarco, President of the Commercial Association of Santos. Good evening, everyone. I would like to start my greeting to our Mayor, Audrey Clays, to our Mayor, Mr. Rogério Santos, on behalf of ACS. We greet you and we want him to recover as quickly as possible because Santos in our community awaits for his return, and God bless him and he's got good recovery. It's with great pleasure and joy and sense of responsibility that we open the 25th edition of the Santos International Coffee Seminar. It's a historic event that celebrates half a century of the largest and most traditional coffee seminar in the world. We greet all authorities who are here, representative from diplomacies of our friendly countries, from the coffee industry, the agribusiness, and our port community. I also salute the partners, associations, young entrepreneurs, and each of the visitors who are here, who crossed borders to be with us in these 3 days. I would like to give special thanks to our sponsors and supporters. Without you, this seminar wouldn't take place and would be as great and the reach we have today. You are, along with the Commercial Association, the main role of this event. I would like to give special thanks, the huge effort with our team, Adalto, Eduardo, Carol, Karina, Valeria, the TAG events, Gabi Montoro, who makes this event so great and so beautiful. 50 years, 5 decades that this seminar has become the largest in the coffee industry. 5 decades of story that was built with entrepreneurs that saw that before anybody else that coffee was not only a product, but a chain, a link that would connect Brazil with the world. The same vision, more than 50 years ago, encouraged coffee producers to have the commercial association in Santos. And this vision that got renewed for each generation gave birth to this seminar that it's this big today. We have authorities and representatives of more than 23 countries, and we want to have more than 1,000 visitors in these 3 days. These numbers show what the coffee seminar represents, a meeting point for the coffee world where business, ideas, trends, and relations build together. And it couldn't be anywhere else. We are in Santos, next to the largest port that exports coffee with our President Pumi, with a beautiful, beautiful city, warming and welcoming and well-structured with this beautiful equipment we have here to receive international standard events. Santos breeds coffee for centuries, and each bag that leaves our port takes along a piece of our history, of our work, and the pride of this city. We are going through a symbolic moment now. Geopolitical reorganization, commercial tensions, energy transition, new technologies. It all changes at high speed. And in this scenario requires Brazil a new strategic vision with a country that is self-sufficient in energy and critical input, with a robust infrastructure to have competitiveness, its production, and with a regulatory set that is brand new, safe, and predictable to attract investment and bring flow to the commercial negotiations. Along with the most relevant discussions we have, ACS brings panels about the current economic scenario, about geopolitical scenario, and using AI in business. Because we truly believe that coffee will be more and more competitive the more our sector has access to the best ideas and the best tools in the world. All that is part of a pack of delivery of the Commercial Association. We have classification standards that are more modern, certification from origin, and we have installations and premises in the entrepreneur's house in Santos. But the commitment of Commercial Association goes beyond that. This edition also brings great social delivery. Using an important area in Santos, that is Mercado Municipal, the city market that will hold our cocktail on Thursday. And even more, a project that we are very proud of in a partnership with Zaya Farms. You may have seen like a pink container here with us. We're releasing a program for urban orchards with 3 pillars that work together: food security, training vulnerable people, and sustainability. Santos today depends on transport to have their own supply of greenery, and we want to change that reality. Having production of this food in the city itself. And I can truly say that coffee, this will be a celebration of this initiative that brings together coffee, sustainable food, and care with our people. The Commercial Association is going through an extraordinary moment. We hit records of revenue and cash flow. We invest in assets and we strengthen our structure. We acquire a real estate along with our premises in the city center, and we are having a partnership with the state government so that we can build a building that will bring the revitalization in the city center, right, Secretary Fabio? It's our commitment with the city. It's a contemporary intervention that is going to be inspired in what we see in the large historical centers in Santos. It's a concrete show of our commitment with the region, that it's the pulsating heart of Santos. This is the commercial association today, along with the demands of the current world, playing the main role in the development of Santos and ready to support coffee and Brazil to be the exponents in the world market. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this 25th edition is unforgettable, that we have business, partnerships, new friendships, an idea that make Brazilian coffee even greater. Welcome to Santos, the world capital of coffee and the home of the Commercial Association of Santos. I would like to call to use the microphone Elber Justo, Vice President of the Commercial Association of Santos. Good evening, everyone. I promise I'll be shorter and briefer than Paulo. I would like to thank the invitation to participate in the opening ceremony of this International Seminar of Coffee. And I would like to congratulate the Commercial Association and the organizers for the event. Brazil is a world reference in coffee, and supporting this event as sponsors is a way to reassure the commitment that we have MSC with connections that strengthen commerce and bring thrust to development. Also, we believe the importance of a group work to have a better presence of the Brazil coffee international markets. Participating in this seminar also reassures our purpose to contribute to improve the flow and the supply chain of coffee, ensuring that grains reach their destinations with best conditions. I hope you have a great event, and thank you very, very much. I would like to call Mr. Carlos Santana, who is the VP of the Commercial Association of Santos and also responsible for the Committee for Content in the seminar.
Olha, boa noite a todos.
Good evening, everyone. Today, I made my marathons. I got well fed. We will not have any scares, any emotions. I apologize once more for the last edition. I would like to greet Elber and Mauro, and I would like to greet all the members of the Commercial Association of Santos who are here today. First of all, I would like to thank Audrey, the acting mayor, for welcoming our event once more, and I would like to greet all the women who are here today. It's a huge pleasure to see so many friends gathered at this 25th edition of the Santos International Seminar, an event that was born in 1972. Precisely because of this milestone, I would like to make a brief reflection comparing that moment to the present. Back then, the Santos Commercial Association counted on approximately 150 members. But now, thanks to the leadership and view of our friend Mauro Samarco, we are 378 members. And just as in the 70s, coffee continues to be the main focus in terms of representation. It's essential to recognize, however, the evolution of our association, which represents today with excellence the whole economy of the region. Congratulations, Mr. President. What can we expect from this 25th edition? We maintain the tradition of bringing to the international community the perspective of a local economist on the Brazilian market and its impact on the global economy. This year, we will count on Pablo Spire, a graduate of Florida International University, and with postgraduate studies from the University of São Paulo. We also understand it's essential to provoke a reflection on the future, on the role of AI in a constantly changing world. In order to do so, we have invited the advertising professional Walter Longo, who holds an MBA from the University of California. He will challenge us to think about how we can remain relevant amidst such rapid changes. We live in an increasingly VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Therefore, we cannot ignore a geopolitical perspective. And for that, we invited Professor Eduardo Janetti, member of the Brazilian Academy of Literature, who has a PhD in economics from the University of Cambridge. I am certain that this edition will be marked by the top quality content. I would also like to thank all the professionals from this industry who will take part in the panels, addressing essential topics such as regulatory aspects, consumption trends, the vision of the main traders, and the challenge of infrastructure. And talking about infrastructure, we can make a new comparison with 1972. At the time, the Santos port moved 25 million tons. Now we have reached amazing 186.4 million tons in 2025. An extraordinary advancement that really deserves the recognition of our friend Anderson Comini and the whole team from the Port Authority. Congratulations. However, not all the comparisons are positive here. In 1972, the world was experiencing the Vietnam War, conflicts in the Portuguese colonies in Africa, tensions in the Middle East, and civil wars in Latin America. Unfortunately, despite all the progress, we continue to face one of humankind's greatest tragedies, conflicts and forced migration. At this moment, I would like to ask everyone for a minute of silence and reflection in respect for the people who are affected by the various conflicts the world is now facing. Thank you. And now, to close on a positive note, still in the spirit of comparisons, I would like to emphasize the extraordinary advancements made by the coffee industry in Brazil. Brazil is close to harvesting one of the largest crops in its history, even with a smaller planted area than what we had in 1972. This means we have grown with more technology, more efficiency, more knowledge, and once more, Brazil produces much more in a smaller area than what we had in 1972. But above all, we have grown with greater awareness. Today, the Brazilian coffee growers do not think only about productivity, but also about legacy. They think about the health of the soil, water conservation, biodiversity, and the social impact of their activities. Think about how to produce better, not only more. This movement toward regenerative agriculture is no longer a trend, it's a reality which was born in the field, and it is built by producers who understand the future of coffee depends on the balance between production and regeneration. That's precisely what makes our industry something so special. And in the end, why We are not only producing coffee, we are growing and planting the future. We are regenerating his stories. We are building a legacy that goes much beyond the next harvest. I'd like to invite you all to visit all the producing regions of Brazil. I am sure you will be delighted by this transformation, the social seriousness, and the strength of our agribusiness. Once more, I'd like to thank you all, and I wish you an excellent seminar. Now we'd like to invite Mr. Pedro Henrique de Souza Neto, Agribusiness Manager of Apex Brazil. Good evening, everyone. I would like to begin by sending you greetings from Laudemir Miller, our president. He was here when he was agribusiness manager, but today he could not take part because he's traveling with the president of Brazil. But Apex is once more here with a very robust work, and I'd like to greet the Maria Paulo, our director Floriano, who could not be here today. And our director is at the Cannes Festival promoting the Brazilian cinema. And it's up to me to come here and talk about an industry which is the face of Brazil, which is the coffee industry. It's the face of Brazil because maybe coffee was one of the first industries that really made Brazil well known abroad. Consumers knew they were consuming a great Brazilian product. We have been doing that for 100 years. As was mentioned here before, Apex has existed for 23 years, and the commercial association is not as old as the coffee sector, but in these 2 decades, we have been trying to promote the coffee industry and coffee growing. In the case of coffee, it's great and it's easy. From a certain point, we do not need to reinvent the wheel. We can share the reality we live in Brazil worldwide, and we are in an industry that has energy, technology, and it keeps growing. We respect the environment, we respect laborers, and we protect native areas and rainforests. In this industry, we have producers from all origins, from all sizes. So we have those huge farms, we have family growers, we have Japanese, Italian, indigenous coffee growers, and we have all types of coffees. We have Conilon, Arabica, Robusta, the green coffee, roasted coffee, soluble coffee. So in Brazil, we have the coffee global consumers want to consume, whatever that is. And Apex shares that message worldwide. We will talk about it in more details tomorrow. However, summarizing, we have 2 sectorial projects that provide total support to the industry, and we take Brazilian companies to the major global events where all the huge buyers are, Lugal Ciao in Europe and in the US. And we have 82 companies at Ciao from China, from many, many different industries from Brazil. But we don't take only the Brazilian producers. We also bring buyers to Brazil so they can see with their own eyes our reality here and visit farms to eliminate wrong conceptions they might have and to get to know our coffee through COPs. Last year we went to Belo Horizonte, we went to Minas, to Espírito Santo, many states. We took our buyers to many, many different regions where traditionally we grow coffee, and we take them wherever the Brazilian coffee is. And we have new actions where we help put consumers and we help them to learn the reality of our coffee. The last year we made an interesting partnership with a major Chinese network, much, much bigger than Starbucks. We created many opportunities for exports and sales, and we also created the Brazilian month where they sell the yellow and green cup and capivara products, and they make it clear to Chinese consumers that Brazil is supplying high quality products. They are showing that the high quality products they are buying is the Brazilian high quality coffee. Consumers know about the reality of our country. And the great news is that Apex has been providing support to them for decades. It has been growing. The example of Luckin Coffee is a clear example of that. So rural producers are now in the presidency of the agency. The former president also was a coffee grower. So we provide full and continuous support to coffee producers. And we really want to take our businesses to the international market. If you are a large or small producer, Apex can help you to take your coffee and sell it in the international market, reinforcing Brazil's position as a great supplier of coffee globally. That's what I had to share. I am available to talk to everyone. I wish you all a great event.
I would like to invite Mr. Anderson Gomini, President of the Port Authority in Santos.
Good evening, everyone. It's a huge pleasure and a great honor to be here with you. I was here last year. I'd like to greet Mauro Samarco, the president of the Commercial Association from Santos, for the amazing organization, the 25th edition of our seminar, reuniting the major coffee producers from all over the world and from Brazil. And I'd like to greet our acting mayor, Audrey Cleis. Please send our greetings to our mayor, Rogério Santos. We are all praying for his recovery. Our friend Albert Justo, Vice President of the Commercial Association and Vice President of MSC Brazil, an important partnership of the Santos Port. Carlos Santana, Vice President of the Commercial Association, who always shares wonderful messages with all of us. Fabio Ferraz, Government Secretary from the City Hall of Santos. On his behalf, I'd like to greet all the secretaries who are here today. Carlos Rodrigues, President of Cochupé. Pedro Henrique Neto, here representing Apex Brazil. Cristina Castro, here representing ANTAC, the regulation agency that really renders amazing services throughout Brazil. Everyone knows that the Port of Santos is responsible for 30% of the Brazilian trades. It's our main connection window with 200 countries and 600 destinations. If it was not for coffee production, which began in Brazil in the 18th century, the Port of Santos would not have developed with 100 kilometers of railways only in the port area, in the port polygonal. The Brazilian ports would not have developed if it was not because of the strength of rural producers, represented especially by coffee growers. It is not by chance that here in Santos we have the coffee exchange, and during many years, decades, we define the prices of coffee worldwide. The city of Santos has grown and developed because of the strength of these rural producers, guided by coffee producers. The relation of coffee growers with the development of the Brazilian port sector and logistics all over our nation is intimate. And the important question we ask Mauro Samarco is, if we look 20 years from now, what type of port we need? That's the responsibility of the Brazilian port authorities. Developing a port that can offer safety to all rural producers. Last year, as I said here before, we have moved on almost 190 million tons. 55% of this total is reflected by the strength of the Brazilian agribusiness. We need to offer a port with better access by sea, by highways or railway, with good technology, infrastructure, and that respects the international agenda of energy transition. The responsibility of the port is offering rural producers, especially coffee producers, a proper infrastructure so they might feel safe investing and producing more with the certainty that their product will reach safely the 200 destinations that are connected to the Port of Santos. That is our responsibility, and that is why tomorrow we'll have a seminar with a timeline of all the works I mentioned before, trying to develop the port of the future, considering all the growing trends for all those cargoes. And the main one is the strength of rural producers, our black gold, the Brazilian coffee. Cheers to all producers and congratulations to you all for this amazing event. Thank you for your words. Now I would like to give the floor to the acting mayor of Santos, Ms. Audrey Claes. Good evening. What an amazing night, my dear Mauro, my friends Mauro, Welber. It is a great pleasure to be here with you, my dear Pomini, Cristina, Carlos, Pedro Henrique. I am really, really glad being here, close to our secretaries Fabio Ferraz, Thiago Papa, Bruno Orlandi. It's always a pleasure to be here together in events that are so important for the development of our city. But I cannot start before, first of all, thanking you all for everything you have said with regard to the health of our Mayor Rogério Santos. He underwent a very delicate surgery today, but he's a very strong man. Is faithful. He works very, very hard, and soon he will be back, fully recovered and close to us. I am quite sure that otherwise, if he could, he would be here with all of you because he really, really loves the Commercial Association of Santos and all those who are part of it and help our city to grow and develop. My dear Eliane, and also the eBay is very special to him. So I do hope we can move forward side by side and keep growing. I would also like to greet in a special way all the entrepreneurs, experts, producers, universities who are part of this context and all of those who worked hard to make this place even more beautiful and important. But, my dear Thiago Papa, I would like to share with you that this year we had some important events here. Health events. We had more than 1,000 people. We had an educational event recently with almost 6,000 people from managers from the state who came here. And today we are receiving all these people in such a special way, and this place looks beautiful. I'd like to congratulate all the organizers and those who worked very hard to make these 3 days high level and extremely productive days. And I am sure that all the words that have been said here show what the next days are going to be like. I'd like to tell you that the press was asking what this international seminar represents for the city of Santos. Well, we are here to enhance and to value all the days of our lives, what Pomini is bringing us, and also the history of coffee. From here, Pedro Henrique, it all began. That was the beginning for our state, our country, for all the world. We have an important story, and this is the global capital of coffee, our Santos. So this amazing event could not be held in any other city. We are talking about the past. We are here saying that we need to take care of our story, we need to preserve it with all the people who are here today. We have technicians here, and look at Pedro Henrique here. We are talking about the present now. My dear Mauro, that's because of these generations. And Carlos, we need to insist on bringing and putting on the table all these important subjects we are going to discuss. We need to understand technology is here to help us move forward more and more, preparing all the future generations that will come through, and they should be well skilled and prepared to face what's coming ahead. But I also need to say that I came here and I saw the campus. For the second consecutive year, Elber, the campus is here. What can we say about these youngsters that have already looked at all the lectures and they have identified AI in the world and in the market of coffee so they can be here following this very important event for their lives. That's what we have to look at every day. As acting mayor and education secretary, what I consider most important is education. And talking about education, this place is ensuring the future of coffee in our lives, ensuring the future of coffee in our society, and more advancing and growing. We are going to discuss figures in many different ways, and we will have an X-ray. We are going to share all that information brought by our dear Mauro, and they mentioned the orchards in our city, and we are discussing the subject with the secretary of the regional city hall so that we can have more green spaces in our city. That is a great opportunity to link the wishes of the public authorities and the innovation brought by the seminar to our city. So you are not only bringing and involving our economy directly with jobs, direct and indirect jobs, but bringing impacting news that are connected to the sustainability of our city, of our state, and of our country. We have the agenda for 2030, so we have a deadline to reach all the sustainable development goals, and we want to attain them successfully, always through innovation, education, and we want to use this important network to attain our final goals. Last week, we had an important meeting of the ODS cities organized by the Santos City Hall, and I am absolutely sure that all these events will be able to link to our final objectives that are connected to having more sustainable cities, and all the areas should be linked with what our world needs so that we can ensure a better world for the next generations. And coffee is already present in our lives every day, and it can become even stronger through all the experiences that will be exchanged here during the next few days. This is a secret place, and the city of Santos is absolutely great. Do enjoy every corner of our city. That's what we wish you all. On behalf of the Santos City Hall, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you all authorities for your talks. I'll kindly ask you to take your seats again because right now we're going to have a short presentation about the SDO 2030-2050 with Ms. Cristina Castro, the director of ANTAC.
E ainda na noite de hoje,
We're also going to have a special tribute with our opening of our seminar. I think I'll sit because they gave me an amazing job. At this time of the day, you are all waiting for the cocktail, and now we have like 2.5 hours to talk about SDOs, 2030 agenda, easy and simple things to talk about. And I would like to start by thanking all my peers who were here, dear friends, because you gave me such an inspiration for everything I'm going to say. I'm the acting director at ANTAC, and before that I was the superintendent of sustainable development. But for more than 20 years, I've been working with the SG agenda. That's really hard to say because that shows how old I am and I have so many white hair now. But it's interesting to talk about the ESG agenda because it started in 2004 when the Secretary General of the UN understood that the limited resources are really limited for an ever-growing humanity. And telling that to a country that has so many resources, with the best world bioeconomy, with the best power, it's even harder because it means that we are exposed. In 2004, when I started working with ESG, we didn't know many things. We had so many uncertainties. How could we measure, statistically speaking, how could we measure something that was so objective, climate change? We can talk about prevision, even though statistically we mentioned that back then. Today we know that in 4 or 5 years, the quality of our crops, and I've lived 16 years abroad, and there were 3 things that I was a great advocate. Brazilian coffee is the best in the world, Pelé is the best footballer in the world, and Brigadeiro chocolate mousse is the best dessert in the world. Sorry if you're not Brazilian, sorry. But speaking of biodiversity and looking at our country, and also thinking about the world impact, on one hand, with the same pain to understand and to measure and how to measure, we have the best water resources. We also have the best positivities of making carbon positive. And by looking at the big picture, if we start talking about SDOs, that's the second step after ESGs, it means that we have to stop and look at clear indicators that weren't understood or we didn't know how to measure what ESG was. And we start breaking to understand globally how we can deal with them and how can we reach these goals in 5, 10, and 15 years. So in 2015, we have the objectives for sustainable development. And there are 2 words that I just love, sustainable development. You can imagine like any kind of development that it's not sustainable. Why does the UN mention that about sustainable development? Development here that the UN shows, and speaking of sustainability, it's because many international organizations understand that differently. The World Bank connects that to the GDP. And if we get the UN agencies, they are oftentimes connected to the quality of life. Some others will connect to how long somebody remains or stays alive, like on the planet, their lifespan. And each one looks from a different perspective. And then what do we do when we look like 17 ODSs, and we had SDGs, and we had racial equality from 17 SDGs? Each of these ones was a way so that we could reach, or we could stay longer and we could live longer on this planet that we call Earth, and that 78% is water. It's fun, isn't it? An interesting metaphor. And these 17 SDGs, like, and I'm talking to coffee producers, if we think quickly, you've reached 7 of these SDGs directly. You're highly connected to eradication of poverty, directly speaking. 78% of coffee producers are from the small and medium-sized companies. Well, if I see something wrong, please correct me. You are already connected to SDGs. Number 4, teaching. The new generations are looking for education to bring new technologies. You are also directly connected, I think this is amazing, to SDG number 5. Women are in this market in a direct and high way. You are also connected, indirectly speaking, but brings impact on the environment with the climate change, infrastructure, technology. And then I started looking at those numbers, at those figures, how coffee was looking at those SDGs. And I was touched because I had no idea. But again, my question was way more like, how much do you know? Do you actually know about that? Or if you measure that directly? How much do you know about the investment from the SDGs? How much do you understand or do you allow that that is direct generation of wealth, just like your grains? How much words like innovation, technology, change, transformation that I've just said, scaling, because the port brings that. Do you understand that? Do you see that as direct capital in your business? I don't know. So that's why I'm bringing like many questions in my hands so that we can just reflect upon that. I'm not going to stand 2.5 hours because you need to enjoy the cocktail and we can keep talking. But again, just to bring you some food for thought. When in Europe, when we talk about like hydric money, I get devastated because I think that we are in the largest hydric power in Brazil, and we can't regulate that. The person, our MC here, was talking about like carbon emissions, and when we talk about that and how much do we understand that each of that means a lot of money that we are just wasting. Every time I come here, like Antak in port, I see how much would you put your carbon in inventory, and somebody said, well, I have no money to invest that. So start taking turns so that you don't waste money, because otherwise in a very short time you're not going to have money to invest. I am in this sector, but I come from fashion. I've lived in France from the Igipon, and I worked with sustainability in that group. And looking at fashion, that it's the most attacking, it's the one that attacks sustainability the most, that wastes most, and looking at all that and understand the impact and making that positive. It's not looking at environment alone with like tinted glasses, but it's to understand that each resource that I miss, each carbon molecule that I have here, it's less money that I have in my pocket. So when I talk about SDGs, I'm talking about a huge bank for the planet and also for my company. It's really impossible to understand long-lasting, like my company being here after I'm gone, if I don't look at the word sustainability and how that is going to be even when I'm not here. And then we start to understand all actions or how much that is important from behavior patterns of that institution. How much my industry, being like an agribusiness or being in consulting, whatever it is. And when I talk about SDGs on that sense, I need to understand as a huge Excel spreadsheet to understand the environment, that is E, that it's the limited resources, like longer. It's to understand people, the social. This is us. We make this environment like limited to live longer. And G, that is governance. So how can I monitor that data for more time and I can generate wealth with those data? And again, wealth, it's not necessarily money, but wealth is like the prediction of that industry for future generations. And when I look at that it's SDG, the environment, like living longer, smart people, because like if I have like smart port or industries, but the people are not smart, I need smart people. And apart from that, I need governance. So I need to monitor those data on a constant base, and I make very well educated decisions. So when I talk about all these things in a huge spreadsheet, I begin to understand where my industry affects directly. Therefore, your work in agribusiness, and this is what coffee is, I need to look at the environment. And when I look at the environment, I have all the indicators of a global data, of a huge database that the UN has designed. And these indicators are the ones that I need to worry, because they will bring me the footsteps so that I can have more water, I can have more energy, and I can have more food. And then just one thing to start to move to the end of my talk. We can only talk about sovereignty during the war, that so many of you mentioned about that. We can only talk about sovereignty when we talk about energy, power. It's so simple that I just go home and I turn the lights on. Nobody pays attention for that. In Sao Paulo, about a year ago, we were 3 days with no energy. Microsoft, Google, IBM, they all dropped. All tech companies stopped because there was no connectivity with no energy. And then it's interesting if we think about the democracy of electric power. So how many people in the population live close to large centers of generation of power in a country that has one of the best clean energy source in Brazil, but they don't have no access to this clean energy? So if I cannot distribute, if I cannot make money, if I cannot manipulate in a good sense energy, I don't have democracy over that. And without democracy, there is no sovereignty. If I don't have sovereignty, I have no power. And then it's a fragile country. And even going beyond and looking at just one little box called energy, what would happen to your industry if I said that for the next month, we wouldn't have electric power in the country? And energy is connected to satellite, oftentimes. And how much is that connected to connectivity and technology, and how much we develop that or we buy it? There is this man called Elon Musk that we get everything from. So it's interesting to look at SDGs and to understand where I am in that chain. Where am I in that process for development and growth? And that is going to be sustainable development. When I can look at myself in that process, to my peers, to my country, and in a geopolitical way to the world. And in these interests, I can understand how much we can develop wealth with social justice. If wealth is stuck in one place, well, that's pointless. That's obvious. Well, people like having wealth in their own pockets. Even me, I love that. But if we don't have like development for those communities as well, I just can't have smart people to work in our smart business. It's that simple. And competences, just to finish, just wrap up. Competence is a set of knowledge and why I do something, skills, how I do something, and attitude. It's like the willingness to do something. And people will only join these three dots, knowledge, skills, and attitude, if they understand once and for all that at the end of the day, the result of that development will generate quality of life and welfare. And this is one of the most important social indicators of SDGs. So therefore, and I would like to thank you for your attention. Speaking of SDGs, many people say that they no longer exist. BlackRock loves saying that. You can call that any way. The name doesn't matter. But we all know the environment we have. We need people. And if I don't monitor all that, we can no longer exist for the next 3, 4, 20 years. And it's impossible to talk about like 2030 chronogram if I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow to my planet. If I don't know, if I cannot predict problems in a year like hunger, thirst, and in a country that has so much food. And believe it or not, Brazil is a country, but I know you all know that our own people live in hunger. And as I said, is the country with the greatest biodiversity in the world. So thank you all. I know that I was preaching to the choir here, and it's way simple to do that. But I would like to say that looking at coffee and to understand coffee with a lens of sustainable development only allows that industry to keep growing and no longer just like opening the port, but it can be the growth and development for the social economy of a country. Thank you very much.
Obrigada, Cristina.
Thank you, Cristina Castro, for your words. And now, to close our opening ceremony, would like to pay a very special tribute and recognition to those who contribute to the history and development of the coffee industry. Tonight, the 25th International Coffee Seminar of Santos pays a tribute to Mr. Carlos Augusto Rodrigues de Mello, born in Cabo Verde, in the south of the state of Minas Gerais in 1952, graduated in odontology, but with a family history connected to coffee growth in the south of Minas. He devotes his trajectory to the cooperativist system since 1977. In 1983, he started integrating the fiscal board of a cooperative in Guaxupé. In the following years, he was a member of the consultative committee, and he reached the vice presidency of the cooperative. In March of 19, he became president of Cochupé. At the head of the cooperative, he has been concentrating on continuous improvement, trying to assist more than 21,000 families. He continuously contributes to innovation and sustainability in the coffee industry. One example is the Generations Project, a protocol of sustainability that became reference in Brazil and abroad. Also, before paying the tribute, I'd like to show a video on the project, the Generations Project, that inspires companies of this sector. Let's talk about environmental responsibility.
Convidamos agora, então,
And now I'd like to invite Mr. Carlos Augusto Rodrigues de Mello to come up to the stage with Dr. Ronald Moraes, coordinator of the sectorial chambers of exporters and coffee cooperatives of the Santos Commercial Association, with Mr. Mauro Samarco, Elber Justo, and Carlos Santana, who will pay the tribute. Now he will receive a white quartz part which symbolizes balance, clarity, and the force of ideas that cross time when the borders are in 24 karat gold. This symbolizes the trajectory and the legacy that was left. This has the curatorship of Eduardo Leite and shows the iconic facade of the Santos Commercial Association. This is a work of art created to make this tribute and recognition eternal. And now I would like to invite Mr. Carlos to say a few words. Good evening, everyone. First of all, please allow me to greet our acting mayor, Audrey Gray, from our dearest city of Santos, brilliant city of Santos. And I would also like ask you to please tell our mayor, Rogério Santos, that we really hope he will be recovered very quickly and that he will come back to managing this city. And I would like to greet you all, the whole community of Santos, very well represented here, this beautiful city. And I would like to greet Mr. Mauro Samarco and my friend Carlos Santana for this amazing tribute. You have really made me feel proud with my whole team here today. And this tribute that you have paid me leads me to share with the 21,000 families of cooperatives, especially the small families, the family-owned companies, the small producers, who represent among 21,000 families, 96%. I really wish to share this, especially with this 90%. And especially, I would like to share with the 3,000 families of collaborators that are highly skilled, have lots of capacity, and are paying me this tribute here, especially to my sustainability and DSG team. Thank you, really. You should be here in my place. Well, this is a special night. It's a very special evening, and It's an extremely important event for the coffee industry, not only the Brazilian one, but the global, international one. We have people from more than 23 countries in here today. And receiving this tribute makes me feel very honored and very proud, and I'm really deeply touched. And actually, it makes me very proud talking about my personal and professional life is talking about Cochupé. In my biography, it was written, but please allow me to be redundant. Actually, I am a dentist. I was not trained to work with coffee, to do anything with coffee, but God gave me the gift of becoming a public person, fully devoted to coffee. Because of the family of my father, who departed very early, but he left me with this legacy of coffee production. And today, I can tell you, I have been working with this cooperative for 50 years. My life has really become Cochupé. And I say it with real emphasis because I have followed the growth of this cooperative. I joined when I was a very young man, and I moved from one position to another, and now I am the president of this great cooperative and this important exporter who exports goods using the amazing port of Santos. And this last year, Cochupé exported here approximately 5 million bags of coffee, sacks of coffee. And whether we want it or not, I do believe we will have a very good harvest. I don't know if it will be the largest one, but it will be great. And I do hope next year much more coffee can pass through the port of Santos. We do expect to receive approximately 8 million bags of coffee. Considering that, the potential of our crops and the coffee park that some time ago had a few issues because of climate problems, but we do feel its greatness is back. Brazil has always been, is, and will always be the major player, the greatest protagonist in coffee production. And Cochupé, as a major cooperative and coffee exporting company, has its growth based on two pillars. First, our cooperates, the members of our cooperative. Why? Because I can tell you that with so much participation in all the activities of the cooperative, and the main factor is trust. Trust makes it great. And second, the second pillar, to this team, this extremely skilled team that works very, very hard. They can, to our producers, agricultural practices that are totally connected to this award I'm receiving today. I have more than 250 technicians, and the whole team we have in the field take tracking, sustainability, ESG processes to all these people, to this audience that makes Brazil today, besides a huge commodity, but also we can state that besides being major producers of coffee, besides quantity, we have the best quality of coffee. And we take our great coffee to our international consumers, meeting the demands, as I just said, as we have just seen, meeting all the sustainability and ESG demands. We do work with certifications, with reports, but we have established our own sustainability program. You have just seen a video on that. Generations. And generations has come to stay. Generations is a protocol and it's really highly differentiated. It is not exclusive, it's inclusive. Actually, it meets the needs of small, medium-sized and large producers. We are now internationally recognized and mentioned. We are recognized because of a program of a global coffee platform through the Ministry of Agriculture of our company, of our country, because we comply with major agricultural practices. But we do not stop here. Please allow me to say that in the environmental issues today in Guaxupé, at our industrial complex, we have an environmental educational center, and we continuously count on visits from our youngsters, our kids. We share all this knowledge and education in the environmental area. Also, we work with partnerships and initiatives with universities, institutions, research institutions such as Embrapa and others, in order to work with regenerative agriculture, carbon collection, and recently we had the joy to our country and the Brazilian agribusiness. We had the carbon capture of our crops, and it could be commercialized worldwide. We added value to these products. Our initiatives never stop. And please allow me to talk about history. In 2012, and I believe we have many people from the logistics sector in here. Our cooperative in 2012, I was vice president back then. My friend Carlos Paulino was president then, and we implemented a radical change in the logistics area. So coffee could be sold in grains. And since then, we have expanded that practice. And now I can tell you that we had advancements in logistics with these bulking issues, coffee granulation. We have so many initiatives in this field. And last year, we became sustainability champions among cooperatives globally. Now, concluding, I really wish to thank you all once more, Mauro Santana, and I do need to mention Ronald, my collaborator, who he is part of the Commercial Association, and all the peers I see here today. The presidents of Secafé, Márcio, Marcos, all of you. You are all my companions. I really wish to thank you for this tribute you are paying me. But honestly, this tribute needs to be shared with my collaborators and all the cooperates. And I do wish to say that coffee is a passion, it's love. And at Guaxupé, we will maintain the commitment and seriousness of sharing that worldwide and also with our consumers. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for this tribute, Mauro Santana, and all of you members of the Commercial Association. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Carlos Rodrigues de Mello. I would like to invite you all on stage so that we can take the official photograph of this tribute. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for coming to the opening ceremony of the 25th International Seminar of Coffee in Santos. And we invite you all participants, to participate the cocktail that is going to be led behind our auditorium in the exhibition area with Don Paulino concert. Thank you. Have a great evening and see you tomorrow morning. As from 9 a.m. See you tomorrow.